In 300 BC, in the city of Cyprus, there lived a rich trader named Zeno. One day, while sailing from Phoenicia to Piraeus, his ship sank and all his goods were lost. In just one moment, everything he owned disappeared, and through no fault of his own. Imagine being in Zeno's place, losing your entire life's work to the sea. Most people would be angry, sad, or feel that life was unfair. But Zeno, who would later become the founder of Stoicism, reacted differently. He stayed calm and accepted what had happened. After reading the works of great thinkers like Socrates, Zeno began teaching that while we cannot control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. Instead of crying over what was lost, he focused on his attitude, choosing peace over frustration. Many people today think being a Stoic means feeling no emotions, but that's not true. Stoicism isn't about being cold or emotionless. It's about understanding life and handling challenges wisely. It teaches us to accept what we cannot change, to think clearly, and to stay calm no matter what happens. This philosophy helped people thousands of years ago and can still help us today. Stoicism turns pain and frustration into understanding and growth by helping us see life from a better perspective. The Stoics believed their wisdom was for everyone, not just for scholars or the rich, so they shared openly in public places because they knew that these lessons could make everyone's life better. After reading the works of Socrates and other great thinkers, Zeno developed and taught Stoicism. He believed that while we cannot control what happens to us, we can always control how we react. Instead of being upset about losing everything when his ship sank, Zeno stayed calm and accepted what had happened. He believed that our power lies in our attitude, not in the events themselves. Today, many people think Stoics are emotionless or never feel anger or sadness, but that's not what Stoicism is about. It's not about hiding feelings. It's about understanding life and dealing with emotions wisely. Stoicism teaches that we should focus on what we can control, accept what we can't, and find peace in the present moment. These ideas helped people thousands of years ago and are still useful today. Stoicism helps us turn pain and frustration into wisdom and see life from a clearer, stronger point of view. The Stoics share their teachings openly in public places so everyone, rich or poor, free or enslaved, could learn. They believed Stoic wisdom was for everyone, not just scholars or rulers. Because of this, Stoicism spread widely, and people from all walks of life became Stoics. Some of the most famous Stoics were Epictetus, who had once been a slave, Seneca, a respected writer and statesman, and Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and one of the most powerful men in history. The early Stoics lived by their principles. They stood against inequality and believed all humans were part of one great family. They even created the word cosmopolitan, meaning citizen of the world. Today, we use that word to describe diverse cities like New York, Toronto, Dubai, and London, places full of people from many backgrounds living together. That unity and togetherness were exactly what the Stoics believed in and worked to promote. When Stoicism began, women were usually not allowed to study philosophy, but the Stoics believed that both men and women were equally capable of learning and living wisely. Musonius Rufus, who taught Epictetus, said that women have the same desire for virtue and goodness as men, so they too should be allowed to study philosophy. Because of this belief, Stoicism was one of the first schools of thought that welcomed women to learn freely and become Stoics themselves. Many people today choose Stoicism as a way of life because it helps them deal with life's challenges calmly. Life is full of surprises, and often it's not the bad events themselves that hurt us, but how unexpected they are. For example, rain can be helpful for plants and animals, but if it catches you outside without an umbrella, It feels unpleasant. Still, we don't cry about the rain because we know it's part of nature and will pass. Stoicism teaches us to think the same way about life, to expect that bad things will happen, and to stay calm when they do. By imagining the worst possible outcome and accepting it, we free ourselves from fear and disappointment. The Stoics also practice something called voluntary discomfort, a training method to build mental strength and gratitude. This can mean sleeping on the floor, taking cold showers, or eating plain food for a few days. These small challenges remind us that we can live with less and still be fine. They help us prepare our minds for tougher times so that when real difficulties come, we can handle them with peace and strength. In today's world, we're constantly told that we need more, better clothes, newer gadgets, more money to be happy. But Stoicism reminds us that true happiness doesn't come from possessions or appearance. It comes from within, from accepting life as it is, being grateful for what we have, and knowing that no matter what happens, we have the strength to endure and grow. We learn many things as we grow up, from our families, schools, and the world around us. But these lessons often don't always match, and try to follow all of them can make us feel lost or disappointed. Instead of living to please others or chasing what society tells us to want, we should focus on improving ourselves for our own sake. When we depend on external things like money, cars, houses, or even other people to make us happy, we give away control of our happiness. And those things can always be taken away. Stoicism teaches that real happiness comes from within, not from what we own. As Seneca said, learning to live with less makes space for what truly matters. The Stoics believe in the dichotomy of control, meaning we must understand what we can control and what we cannot. We can't control events, but we can control our reactions. For example, a YouTuber can control how much effort they put into making a video, but not how many views it gets. A worker can control how well they do their job, but not whether they get promoted. When we focus on effort instead of outcome, we find peace. Trusting the process and caring more about doing our best than about external results frees us from disappointment and helps us live a calmer, more meaningful life. With the right mindset, the man's goal wasn't lost, just delayed. Changing how we see things is very important in Stoicism. A true Stoic doesn't measure success by money or possessions, but finds peace in living well without needing too much. Stoicism is built on 4 main virtues: wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice. Wisdom means knowing what we can control and what we can't, and choosing how we respond. As Viktor Frankl said, between what happens to us and how we react, there's a moment, and in that moment, we have the power to choose. Courage means to persist and resist, to keep going despite fear or hardship. Temperance, or self-control, means living with moderation and being content with having enough rather than always wanting more. Justice, the most important virtue, means treating others fairly and doing no harm, because we are all meant to help one another. Nelson Mandela is a great example of these Stoic values. Even after spending 27 years in prison, he forgave those who wronged him and chose peace over revenge. Influenced by the teachings of Marcus Aurelius, Mandela taught that we cannot change the past, but we can always choose to act with wisdom, courage, and kindness in the present. While fighting against apartheid, Nelson Mandela was sentenced to life in prison, where he spent 27 years before being released. When he finally became president of South Africa, many people expected him to take revenge on those responsible for his suffering, but he didn't. During his time in prison, Mandela studied the writings of Marcus Aurelius and embraced Stoic principles. Instead of seeking revenge, he encouraged peace and rebuilding, teaching that the past cannot be changed and that the only wise choice is to move forward and create a better future. The true Stoic way. REBT and Logotherapy. REBT helps people identify and challenge negative thoughts using logic, replacing them with more positive and realistic beliefs. Logotherapy teaches that finding purpose gives life meaning, even in difficult times. Both approaches remind us that happiness depends on how we think, not on what happens around us. To truly be happy, we must focus on what we can control and let go of what we cannot. Stoicism guides us through life's storms toward peace and balance. And even if life ends sooner than we hope, we can still find comfort knowing we live with purpose and virtue. Because, as Stoics say, everything eventually comes to an end.